I want you to picture something for a second.
Okay.
You're standing in front of a mirror, just you and, your reflection, and you start to scrutinize. Maybe you pinch a little inch of waistline or you pull back the skin on your jaw just to see what you'd look like if things were a little tighter.
We've all done
They've
it.
all done it. But now imagine that your livelihood, your ability to feed your family, your entire legacy depended on that reflection being perfect. Not just good, perfect.
It's a terrifying thought. Because the mirror, it never really stops judging you, does it?
Never. And today we're going to talk about what happens when that pressure creates a crack in the foundation. We have a really unusual stack of sources today.
Very unusual.
On one side, we're looking at these medical files, some of them pretty graphic, of famous black men who went under the knife to radically alter their bodies.
And on the other side of the stack, we have something completely different. It's a collection of folklore and witness accounts from the grave sites of music legends.
It sounds like two totally different shows, right? Surgery and ghosts. But as I was reading through this, I realized there's a through line here.
There absolutely is. It's about the body, the vessel.
Exactly.
It's about how these icons try to conquer the body while they're alive, sculpting it, starving it, cutting it to stay relevant. And then what happens when the body finally gives out?
What happens then?
The sources suggest that for some of these legends, the spirit just, well, it refuses to leave the building.
So it's a trip from the sterile lights of the operating room to the dirt of the cemetery. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
The first part of our stack deals with the living body. And honestly, some of these details made me wince.
Oh, for sure.
We usually hear about female celebrities and plastic surgery, but the pressure on men is just as intense, isn't it?
It is, but it's often more silent. The source material calls it a life or death battle in the industry. You don't look the part, you just don't get the part. And we aren't talking about a little Botox.
No, this is massive structural changes.
Huge changes.
Right. And I think the best place to start is with someone everyone knows. Al Roker. The weatherman we all grew up with.
Of course.
I just remember him being this jovial, larger-than-life guy.
He was.
Yeah.
And for a long time, that was his brand. But physically, he was struggling. The source material notes he was over 330 pounds. He described his own body as a suit of armor made of fat.
A suit of armor? Wow. That's a heavy description.
It implies he was using the weight for protection, psychologically. But in 2002, he made the call to get gastric bypass.
And he did it for his dying father, right? That was the promise.
A promise to get healthy, yeah.
Yeah.
And most people know that part of the story. He lost the weight.
Yeah, I remember the photos. He looked great, so mission accomplished, right?
Well, that's the thing about extreme weight loss that people don't really talk about. You can shrink the fat, but the skin, it remembers. The skin doesn't just snap back.
Oh.
Roker had a second surgery in 2003 that was arguably more intense than the bypass.
More intense. How?
He had to have 11 pounds of excess skin removed.
11 pounds. Just of skin.
Just skin. The notes describe it as heavy curtains hanging from his belly, his chest, his arms.
Oh my God.
I mean, imagine walking around with that. You've done the hard work, you've lost the weight, but you're literally carrying the ghost of your former self around with you.
Yeah.
It was chafing. It was heavy.
Heavy curtains. That is such a visceral image. It really highlights that it wasn't just about vanity. This was about mobility.
It's functional, yes.
Mm.
But think about the mental load. You can't just diet that away. You have to be cut open to be free of it.
And he wasn't the only one. Randy Jackson, the American Idol judge. I feel like his transformation was even more sudden. One season he was big, the next he was half the size.
It was incredibly fast. But his motivation was different. He was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes while weighing around 350 pounds.
So for him, it was a legitimate health hazard.
Absolutely. He had the bypass in 2003 as well.
And he lost, what, over 100 pounds?
115 pounds.
Uh-uh.
But here is the detail that really struck me in the research. It wasn't just a physical change. It was a complete rewiring of how he experienced pleasure.
What do you mean?
He described eating after the surgery as a math problem.
A math problem.
Yeah. He had to calculate every single bite to ensure he wouldn't get sick or spike his sugar. The joy of a meal was replaced by strict, cold calculation.
That's a high price to pay.
It is. You
Yeah.
get your health back, but you lose that primal connection to food.
It sounds exhausting. But okay, so with Roker and Jackson, we are talking about health. It's life-saving stuff. But then I turned the page in the notes and saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I had to double check I was reading it right.
I had a feeling you'd stop on that one.
I mean, come on. He is the global icon of strength. The man is a walking action figure. Why on earth would he need surgery?
Because even action figures have biology. In 2005, Johnson underwent a surgery for gynecomastia.
Break that down for us. What is that?
In layman's terms, it's the enlargement of chest tissue in men. It's not just fat you can burn off on a treadmill. It's glandular.
I see.
In his case, the sources suggest it was a mix of a genetic hormone disorder and, potentially a history of steroid use from his wrestling days.
So no matter how many bench presses he did.
It wouldn't go away. That's the key.
Yeah.
He had this physique that was 99% perfect, but that one flaw, and I use quotes there, was something he couldn't control.
And in wrestling, I guess you can wear a vest or tape up, right?
Exactly. But he was transitioning to Hollywood. The camera lenses there are unforgiving. You're 40 feet tall on a movie screen. So he went in and had 2 liters of fat and tissue removed from his chest.
2 liters. Wow.
It changes how you look at those Fast and Furious movies, doesn't it? That sculpted chest isn't just sweat and iron. It was sculpted by a surgeon to correct what nature and the industry wouldn't allow.
It really proves that the standard is impossible. If The Rock can't achieve the male ideal naturally, who can?
Nobody. That's the point. It's a manufactured reality. And that manufacturing gets even more precise when we look at the guys fighting aging.
Right, the anti-aging procedures. This seemed a lot more subtle, like Lionel Richie.
Very subtle, but strategic. In 2012, Richie had a secret eyelid lift. Now, this wasn't about looking like a teenager. It was about the physics of the face.
The physics.
His eyelids were drooping just enough that it was affecting his vision and, crucially, his expressions.
Ah, okay.
When you're performing, your eyes are your main tool for connection. If you look sleepy or heavy-lidded, you lose that energy.
So what do they do?
They removed just 2 millimeters of skin.
2 millimeters, that's nothing.
It sounds like nothing. But under stage lights, it's the difference between looking tired and looking timeless. It opened his face back up.
It's wild that 2 millimeters can save a career. And then you have Smokey Robinson. The notes here get really specific about his facelift.
Smokey went further. In 2005, he had a facelift that involved pulling the skin from under the ears. But he also used Botox to target wrinkles that were specifically 3 millimeters deep.
Why measure the depth of the wrinkles? What's that about?
Because he was trying to match his face to his voice. Think about Smokey Robinson's voice. It's so smooth, it's high, it sounds youthful.
Yeah, never really aged.
Exactly. But his face was aging. So there was this disconnect. He felt that his appearance was betraying his sound. He wasn't just trying to look young. He was trying to maintain the integrity of the instrument.
That actually makes sense. It's almost like instrument maintenance. But then the sources take a darker turn. We go from maintenance to something that feels like a spiral.
Yes. This is where the desire for control starts to destroy the person. And we have to talk about Kanye West.
The 2016 surgery, I think a lot of people glossed over this because there was so much other chaos around him at the time.
They did, but this is critical context. In April 2016, Kanye had liposuction. He removed 4 liters of fat. He was reportedly terrified of being called fat by the media.
But the surgery isn't the headline here.
No, it's what came after.
The recovery.
Right. Post-surgery, you are in pain. You are prescribed opioids. The source explicitly connects the surgery to the beginning of a severe opioid addiction for him.
And if you look at the timeline,
Late 2016 is when he had that massive mental health crisis, the hospitalization, the erratic behavior on stage. It's a direct chain reaction.
so the pressure to look perfect led to the surgery.
Which led to the pills, which destabilized his mind.
It's devastating. You're trying to fix the outside and you end up breaking the inside.
And sadly, that narrative of breaking the structure brings us to Michael Jackson. The source calls him the ultimate example of structural collapse.
This one is hard to read. It's not just about vanity with Michael, is it?
No. It's profound trauma. It started with a broken nose in 1979 during dance practice, a legitimate injury. But then it just didn't stop. He got a chin dimple implant.
A chin dimple? I didn't even know you could buy those.
You can. He created a 1.5 centimeter depth in his chin. He was trying to build a face that looked nothing like the child star he was born as.
Yeah.
But the nose. The nose is where the tragedy lies.
The notes mention he had 10, maybe more surgeries on just the nose.
At least. And you have to understand, the nose is cartilage. It's not infinite. You keep whittling it away, and eventually there's nothing left to support the structure.
It just gives out.
The source uses a haunting phrase here. His nose became fragile like glass.
Like glass.
It was collapsing. He had infections. He had to wear a prosthetic sometimes to cover the damage. And just like Kanye, this cycle of surgery and repair fueled a dependence on painkillers. He was in constant physical and emotional pain, trying to sculpt a masterpiece out of flesh that just couldn't hold the shape.
That is heavy. These men spent their entire lives fighting their own biology, carving pieces away to satisfy the public eye.
Which is why the second half of our deep dive is so jarring. We're leaving the operating table now. We're going to the place where the body's supposed to finally rest.
The grave.
But according to these sources, for some black music legends, there's no rest.
This section gave me goosebumps. We have reports covering 45 different grave sites, but we've pulled out the most compelling ones. And the theme here seems to be a reversal of power.
Precisely. In life, the industry controlled their bodies. In death, their spirits seem to be controlling the environment. They're manifesting in sound, in temperature, in physical marks on stone.
Let's start with the sounds, because these are musicians after all. Louis Armstrong. Satchmo, he's buried in Queens. What's happening to his stone?
It's the image of his trumpet. There's a trumpet etched into the granite headstone. Now, granite is hard. It should last for centuries.
Right.
But caretakers and visitors have noticed that the trumpet carving is wearing away significantly faster than the rest of the stone.
Is it just the wind hitting it wrong?
Maybe, but the lore is that he's still playing it. The belief is that the spiritual pressure, the energy of him blowing that horn from the other side, is physically eroding the rock.
That is so cool. It's like he's playing it out of existence. And then Duke Ellington.
Duke is more atmospheric. On windy nights, people standing near his grave report hearing things. Not the wind howling, but specific sounds. Piano key slides.
Like a glissando.
Yes. And clicking sounds. As if someone is pressing keys that aren't there. The idea is that he's still composing, using the wind as his instrument.
I love that. But not all of these are about the music continuing. Some are about keeping the mojo working. Muddy Waters.
This is a great cultural insight. Muddy Waters' grave has the inscription, "The mojo is gone."
Which is a reference to his song Got My Mojo Working.
Right, but the fans don't accept that the mojo is gone. The grave is covered in offerings, coins, guitar picks, even cigarettes.
It's like an altar.
It is an active transaction. Visitors believe the mojo didn't leave, it just went underground. They leave a tribute to pay for protection. They are asking the boss of the blues for a favor.
Okay, those are the cool ones. But we need to talk about the ones that genuinely freak me out. The tragic echoes. Johnny Ace.
This one requires a bit of setup. Johnny Ace was a huge R&B star in the 50s. He died on Christmas Eve backstage. He was playing with a gun Russian roulette, essentially, and it went off.
Correct.
It was instant. Now, visitors at his grave in Memphis report a very specific physical sensation. They say the temperature drops rapidly, just in that one spot.
That's classic ghost story stuff.
It is, but it's the sound that gets me. People report hearing a metallic click inside their heads.
In their heads, not with their ears.
Right. The psychic echo is the sound of the revolver chamber turning or the trigger pulling. It's like the trauma of that split-second mistake is looped there, replaying for anyone who gets too close.
Ugh, that makes my skin crawl. That's too real. Can we pivot to something a little warmer? Sam Cooke?
Yes. Let's go to the light. Sam Cooke. The voice of the civil rights movement in many ways. His grave is a flat slab of granite. Very simple. It represents equality.
And what happens there?
The opposite of Johnny Ace. People say when you touch the cold stone, you don't feel cold. You feel a special surge of heat.
Heat.
A warmth. Visitors interpret it as him transmitting hope. It's a refusal to be cold, a refusal to be dead. It's physical comfort from a man who provided emotional comfort to millions.
That is beautiful. Now this next one, this is the one that stuck with me the most. Ray Charles. We know he was blind, but he perceived the world through sound in a way we can't even imagine.
And his grave seems to invite you into that world. A fan account in the source describes a phenomenon called seeing with sound.
What does that mean?
They stood at the grave, and suddenly their hearing changed. It shifted frequency. They could hear insects crawling in the grass. They could hear the grass gasping.
Oh.
Everything became layered and hyper-detailed. It's as if, for a moment, Ray Charles lends you his ears. You experience his sonic sight. You step into his reality.
That sounds like a spiritual experience. And speaking of sensory stuff, Otis Redding.
The big O.
The notes say his stone, it vibrates.
Like a bass note.
Yeah.
A low, continuous hum. But the detail that is truly poetic is about the dew. You know how morning dew settles on a tombstone?
Sure.
People claim that if you touch the dew on Otis Redding's stone and taste it, it's salty.
Salty, like tears.
That's the interpretation. that the stone itself is weeping, or that the spirit is still mourning the music he never got to finish. He died so young.
Man, that is heartbreaking.
It is. But some graves are less about sadness and more about symbols, messages left behind.
Like Jackie Wilson.
Jackie Wilson is a fascinating case of time. He was in a coma for 9 years before he eventually passed away. A long, silent struggle.
And how does the grave reflect that?
The legend says that if you place a red rose on his grave, it won't wilt in the normal time. It will shrivel and dry up after exactly 9 days.
9 days. 1 day for every year he was in the coma.
It's what the source calls temporal resonance. It symbolizes that his suffering had a specific measure, and now it's finished.
I like that. It feels like closure. And then there is little Richard, the architect of rock and roll. He was never one to blend in.
No, never. And neither does his grave. If you go to the cemetery, you'll notice something odd. His grave is angled.
Angled how?
It physically turns his back on the main path.
Why would it do that?
Think about his personality. He demanded attention. If the grave was facing the path, you could just glance at it and keep walking.
No.
But because it's turned away, you have to leave the path. You have to walk around to the front to see him.
You have to make an effort.
You have to seek him out. He is forcing you to give him an audience. It is pure showmanship carved in stone.
That is so perfectly him. And finally, Sarah Vaughan, the Divine One. This one is a bit more subtle, but really poignant.
It is. Next to her name on the headstone, there is a blank stone block. It's empty.
Is it waiting for a name?
No,
Yeah.
it's intentional. Sarah Vaughan was married multiple times, but none of them were.
Right.
The blank block represents her only true lifelong partner.
Which was?
Her voice, her art.
Wow.
It's a statement, husbands come and go, people let you down, but the music never left her side. That blank stone is a tribute to the only relationship that really mattered.
So let's try to put this all together. We started with Al Roker cutting away heavy curtains of skin because he couldn't escape his past body. We talked about Michael Jackson's nose becoming glass because he was trying to carve out a new identity. And now we're looking at Otis Redding's grave, weeping salty tears, and little Richard forcing us to walk off the path just to see him.
It's a massive contrast. Think about it. In life, these men and women were products. They were commodities, the world told them. You were too fat, too black, too old, too flawed.
So they went to the operating table.
They went to the operating table to carve themselves into something the world would accept. They were trying to control the vessel to survive the spotlight.
But in death...
In death, the dynamic flips completely. The body is gone, the surgery scars are gone, and what's left? The spirit. And suddenly, they're the ones in control. They're cracking stones, they're changing the temperature, they're making us hear things.
It's like they're finally taking up the space they were denied in life.
Exactly. They aren't shrinking anymore, they're expanding.
But I have to ask, do you think we are part of the problem here?
How do you mean?
Well, we demanded perfection from their bodies while they were alive. We scrutinized every wrinkle and every pound. Are we doing the same thing now? Are we demanding that they still perform for us, even from the grave?
That is the uncomfortable question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are these hauntings real, or are they just manifestations of our refusal to let them go? We consumed their bodies in life. Maybe we are trying to consume their spirits now because we just can't accept that the show is actually over.
We want the encore, even if we have to invent it.
And perhaps the ghost isn't in the grave at all. Maybe the ghost is in the fan who just won't stop listening.
That is a lot to think about. Next time I look in the mirror, I'm going to see things a little differently.
As you should.
Thank you for walking us through this. This was a heavy one, but a good one.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.